Warning! Kinda Murdery contains adult themes, explicit language, and descriptions of violence. It is not suitable for anyone, and we recommend you stop listening now.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Kinda Murdery, a true crime podcast that's mostly about murder, and always about the strange and compelling stories that arise when the path less traveled twists to darkness, and those who walk its shadows surrender to violence and moral corruption. We have a perilous journey ahead, so thank you for lending me your courage and good company. I'm your host, Zevon Odelberg, and this is Kinda Murdery, coming to you piping hot and fresh as a daisy from the torrential downpours of San Diego, California. So I'm supposed to go downhill skiing this weekend. My parents are coming into town to visit. We're all supposed to go skiing together along with a Boy Scout troop, but rains and snow levels have been so insane that a state of emergency has been declared in Big Bear. They've gotten over 6 feet of snow in the past week, and currently the roads are completely shut. As of this morning, the CHP was escorting the occasional resident back to Big Bear, but you had to prove residency, and I don't think they're escorting anyone at this point. The mountain itself is closed, so it's looking unlikely that I'm going to be doing any skiing this weekend, but I sat down today to try to record both Thursday and Sunday's episodes in a single shot because I anticipated being skiing with the family. And even though the skiing's out the window, I might see if I can do it anyway. Get a little bit ahead on the workflow, maybe actually have some time to spend with my folks and my wife, my daughter, and the people that I love. And of course, you all are some of the people I love as well. But I think we all know how nice it can be to actually get just a little bit ahead of your to-do list every once in a while. I mean, it's about as rare as a unicorn, but I'm going to take a shot at doing that today. So here we go. You know, when you call something the trial of the century, that implies that there's only a trial like this, of this notoriety, of this magnitude, once every 100 years. But in reality, if we look back over the last 100 years, there have been quite a few trials of the century. In fact, virtually every decade has more than one. Now, even though the 1920s are the first decade we would naturally talk about if we're going back 100 years, I'm going to talk about them last because the trial we're going to be talking about today, that's the trials of Baba Anjuka, of course, happened in the 20s. So I'll land at the 20s last. Let's start with the 1930s. In 1931, there was the Al Capone tax evasion trial. In 1934, there was the custody battle over Gloria Vanderbilt, multimillionaire heiress. And in 1935, there was, of course, the Lindbergh Baby kidnapping trial. The 1940s had the Nuremberg war crime tribunals. That's a strong candidate for the actual trials of the century there, I would say, but still, there are more to come. In the 50s, there was the Rosenberg treason trial. In the late 50s and in the 60s came the first mafia trials. The 1970s were an absolute doozy of a decade for trials of the century. We had the Sharon Tate Manson family trial, the Patty Hearst trial, the Getty kidnapping trial, as well as Ted Bundy's trial, which was the first televised trial. The 80s had John Wayne Gacy, the clown killer, Iran-Contra, the McMartin preschool abuse trial, dear God. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. The 1990s were perhaps defined by their high-profile trials of the century. Such notorious court cases as Jeffrey Dahmer, the Menendez brothers, O.J. Simpson. In the 2000s, we had Robert Blake and the Michael Jackson trial. In the 2010s, Casey Anthony, Aaron Hernandez, a second O.J. trial, the Bill Cosby trial. And already in the 2020s, we've had the Kristen Smart trial, the trial of Derek Chauvin, R. Kelly, Kyle Rittenhouse, of course Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and the point is, pretty much anywhere you look, there's at least one trial of the century. But none of these decades, from the 30s all the way up until last year and this year, I mean, Alex Murdaugh is on trial right now, perhaps no decade boasted trials of the century quite like the 1920s. The Black Sox Scandal refers to the rigging of the World Series in 1919. Well, that trial took place in 1921. 1921 also had the Sacco and Vanzetti trial, one of the first declared trials of the century, where 2 Italian immigrants were accused of murdering a guard and paymaster at a shoe factory in Braintree, Massachusetts. Sacco and Vanzetti is an interesting case. After only a few hours of deliberation on July 14, 1921, they were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. There were many examples of anti-Italianism and anti-immigrantism in their trial, and Sacco and Vanzetti became one of the first worldwide cause celebs in modern history. Of course, they appealed, and by 1927, protests on their behalf had been held in every major city in North America and Europe, as well as Tokyo, Sydney, Melbourne, Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, Buenos Aires, Dubai, Montevideo, Johannesburg, and Auckland. Nevertheless, appeals were denied, and Sacco and Vanzetti were executed by the electric chair on August 23, 1927. But remember, that trial had begun in 1921, so moving on, 1922 had the Fatty Arbuckle trial. This was a manslaughter trial for Hollywood's at the time highest paid and most famous actor. He was quickly acquitted. 1924 had Leopold Loeb, which this show has covered extensively. You'll find it in the episodes from late October 2022 as the Chicago Horror. 1925 had the famous John Scopes monkey trial, where the state of Tennessee attempted to convict high school teacher John Scopes for teaching evolution as part of the science curriculum in high school. Those were all trials of the century in just the 1920s. But of course, all trials of the century can't have occurred in the United States, right? All right. There are many countries and cities and criminals and murderers in the world. And today, we're going to talk about another trial of the century in the 1920s. This one, the trial of the century for the former Kingdom of Yugoslavia. That's right, the trial of Baba Anjuka, the Witch of Vladimirovac. And so, if you're ready, I suggest that you put your personal items underneath the seat in front of you. Stow your carry-on in the overhead compartment. Let go of the worries of the day. But be sure your seatbelt is fastened. There's turbulence expected ahead. Kinda Murderies, The Witch of Vladimirovac, Satanic Pacts, and the impressive kill count of Baba Anjuka. Part 2. That's right, I said Part 2. So if you haven't heard Part 1 yet, go back and listen to it. We'll save you a seat. Right here at the outset, I'm going to rewind the story just a bit to allow you to settle back into the narrative. All right, here we go. This is Part 2 of The Witch of Vladimirovac, and it starts now. Baba Anjuka's 2 potions, that's one that just made you violently ill in order to get out of things like military service, and the other that actually murdered. Her 2 potions became so popular that by 1920, Grandmother Annie hired an actual agent. Can you believe that? A murder agent named Lubina Malenkov, who helped to locate clients and get them to the witch's house. Lubina and her associates would travel around the Banat region, visit villages, and look for places where there was discord and disease. They would then recommend Baba Anjuka's devil water that could solve all of the villagers' problems. They were literally traveling murder salesmen. Word spread across Banat to the farthest corners of the region, and people came from all over for advice. Anujka treated people for insanity, dementia, and other ailments. And, no matter what her assessment, she always looked to extract as much money as possible from her clientele. Eventually, the police from Požarevac received an anonymous letter accusing her of various crimes. She was first arrested in 1914. This would have been after likely 35 some odd years of murder. She was arrested in 1914, but she was acquitted. She would be arrested again on May 15, 1928, at the age of 90, and it was this arrest that would lead to her trial. Baba Anjuka seemed to believe that she was not doing any bad deed, but rather simply helping people in need. She claimed that she knew medicine better than any doctor and that every medicine she gave helped, saying, "I am a benefactor to the poor and ignorant world." Following her arrest in 1928, the crown prosecutor in the small Yugoslavian town of Pachevo, in the then Kingdom of Yugoslavia, would officially disagree. In fact, Baba Anjuka's first trial was in June of 1914 in Bela Crkva for providing poison for murders, but she was swiftly acquitted. She was arrested again 14 years later on May 15, 1928 at the age of 90. Several women were arrested as well and charged with the murders of 2 men, Nikola Mamarov and Lazar Ladovsky. As for the Witch of Vladimirovac, she was charged as an accessory. The women charged with the actual murders were Stana, Sofia, and Sima Mamarov, Lubina Milenkov, Danica Stoyik, and Olga Sturza. Authorities exhumed the bodies of Nikola Mamarov and Lazar Ladovsky, and autopsies were performed at the University of Belgrade. The trial began on June 29th at the District Court in Pachevo, and the hearings took place on the 18th and 19th of June. As part of evidence discovery, chemical testing was done on samples found in Anujka's house, and the trial was then continued until July 1st when the results of that chemical testing were available. The prosecutors sought the death penalty for all defendants except for Olga Sturza, who was a minor at the time of the murders, but he still sought a lengthy prison sentence for her. Sofia and Sima Mamarov defended themselves at the trial. They claimed that they did not know that the magic water contained poison and that they believed it was just water and that death came as a result of Anujka's supernatural powers. Stana claimed that she only wanted the magic water to heal her husband from alcoholism and that she was not aware it would kill him. During the trial, Anujka constantly denied charges, claiming that she never sold any magic water and that the whole case against her was fabricated by Lubina Malenkov, who wanted to blame Anujka for her own crimes. Sturza defended herself, claiming that she was still a child at the time of the murder and that she was not aware that the water would kill her grandfather. But Sofia Mamarov testified that Sturza was well aware of the entire plot, and a doctor named Branko Verdelia testified that traces of arsenic were found in the bodies of both victims. I want to pause the account right here for a moment and point out an almost bizarre distinction being made in the defense of the women who are accused of murder here. The Mamarovs say that they did not know that the magic water contained poison, that they believed that it was just magic water, and that the deaths that happened were the result of Anujka's supernatural powers. So essentially they're saying, oh, we didn't poison our grandfather, our husband. We didn't contract with a witch to poison him. We simply contracted with a witch to kill him through magic and satanic pacts. Now, I do think that would be a worthy distinction to make, certainly in an American court of law, given people's attitudes towards magic. But on the flip side, in Yugoslavia at the time, as I mentioned in the last episode, witch doctors were actually licensed practitioners, which means that many people, if not most people, actually believed magic was real. In which case, if you contract with a witch to poison someone versus contracting with a witch to kill them through magic, if magic is as real as poison, then aren't you equally guilty either way? I guess we'll leave the answer to that to the former Kingdom of Yugoslavia legal scholars. But now, I want to jump into some contemporaneous accounts from Yugoslavian newspapers in the 1920s that outline not only the actual action at Baba Anjuka's trial, but also the events and circumstances surrounding it. The context, if you will. All right, here we go. This is from June 11th, 1929. In the criminal court of the small town of Pachevo today, one of the most deadly and prolific poison blender trials in modern criminal history began. In addition to the main defendant, 92-year-old Anna Pistova, who was born in Vojvodina under the name of Baba Anjuka, several women from the most prestigious families, including the widow of the mayor of Banatsko Novo Selo, Dr. Costa Karina, were indicted and accused of being responsible for both the incitement and for providing help for the poisoning of the victims. In recent years being the 1920s, many mysterious deaths accumulated in Vojvodina. Always the victims were men. Among them were many who were in the prime of life and enjoyed excellent health, but died suddenly. 2 years ago, in 1927, the mysterious death of a rich restaurateur named Geibel caused general consternation in Vladimirovac, and similar mysterious deaths occurred in Pančevo, Novo Selo, and in other places of the Bačka region. At the end of 1928, Mayor Karina of Novo Selo returned home from a session of the municipal council and suddenly died. Only then did authorities pay attention to the accumulation of strange deaths. The victims of the investigation led investigators to Baba Anjuka, who lived in a miserable hut at the entrance to Vladimirovac and was available for her miraculous medicines. The state attorney issued a detention order against the old woman, but the local police did not dare to arrest her because Baba Anjuka was known far and wide as a benefactor of the people. The locals spoke her name with awe and told themselves one after the other that she had healed many people. Indeed, she had brought the dead back to life and cured sick cattle. Finally, in the deep silence of the night, the police took the old woman away and delivered her to Pančevo prison, so that the judicial investigation could take its course undisturbed. Shortly after Christmas, 6 more arrests were made. In February, there was a big sensation, the arrest of the young widow of the mayor of Karina. The investigation revealed that Baba Anujka had run a veritable poisoner's workshop, and that women from near and far made pilgrimages for her venomous poison so that they could put their inconvenient husbands away. The still sprightly, spirited, and fresh old woman, Baba Anujka, confessed that certain women and girls who, as she said, in their anguish had turned to her, received from her herbs and spices for the preparation of love potions. The women had complained to her that their husbands were unfaithful or neglectful, so she gave them the love potions to help with those problems. But she could not help the fact that the women made too much use of the love potions, so much so that the men then became deathly ill. The same exact excuse was used by the women who were accused of murdering their spouses. Although they admitted to having given the love potion to their husbands, they claimed that they had no intention other than to win the men's love again. Such was the case with the wife of the mayor of Karina. But with her having been educated in a boarding school in Lausanne, it's highly unlikely that she believed in love potions. Believing in poison, on the other hand, requires no such flight of fancy. The mayor's wife, a beautiful and lettered woman of 29, had been married to Mayor Karina for 10 years. She'd accepted the marriage against her will by the wish of her parents, and there had never been a good relationship between her and her husband, who at the time was 20 years old. The public prosecutor's office had the bodies of the mayor and 10 other men exhumed. The remains were sent to the Chemical Institute at the University of Belgrade, and in almost every case, death was determined to be the result of organic plant poison. There are numerous pieces of new evidence presented against the Witch of Vladimirovac that still need to be reviewed. So that was an account of the trial taken from June 11th, 1925. We're now going to skip forward 10 days and continue with the trial of the Witch of Vladimirovac. As Baba Anujka was rushed by a jailer between a cordon of mounted police and into the courthouse, newspaper photographers were awaiting her appearance. She became wild, clasped her hand over her face, and shouted, "Why photograph me? Am I a wonder of the world?" The first witness at trial today was a woman named Maria David, who testified that she'd been a servant of the witch for 20 years. The prosecutor asked, "Did your mistress give away potions for money?" Replied Miss David, "Why, yes, of course. Often ladies and gentlemen came in carriages and in cars from Pančevo and Belgrade." David went on to say that the hocus pocus that the witch used with her clients was the reason that she had been called upon to testify. And if you would like to hear more of that testimony, as well as more about the former Kingdom of Yugoslavia's trial of the century, and find out just what happened to Baba Anjuka, then please do rejoin me this Sunday, March 5th, for Part 3, the thrilling conclusion of The Witch of Vladimirovac, Satanic Pacts, and the impressive kill count of Baba Anjuka. Now before I let you go, please let me entreat you, call 888-MURDERY, that's 888-687-3379, and tell me your Kinda Murdery story so that I can use it on the show. And please remember about the free 3-digit lifeline number that you can call at no cost, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 988. You can call 988 to receive immediate counseling for substance use, mental health, or suicidal thoughts. So if you find yourself in crisis, please do call 988. Program it into your phone now. And please always remember that you are loved, even if it doesn't feel like it right now, and the world is a better place with you in it. Now, if you're not in crisis, and you'd just like to connect with someone, please do feel free to reach out to me, kindamurdery@gmail.com, at kindamurdery on all social media, or of course you can call 888-MURDERY, but I want you to call 888-MURDERY primarily to tell me your personal Kinda Murdery stories. And please also remember that I'm not qualified to help you if you're in acute crisis. So please don't reach out to me in that case. Call 988. But if you'd just like to share your story, if you'd just like to connect with someone, if you'd just like to talk about the unique challenges that you face in life, if you'd just like to give all of us a chance to better understand who you are so that we can all become just a little more empathetic, then please do reach out to me in all the ways just described. Your choice. I'm here, I care, and I would love to connect with you. All right, I look forward to seeing you on Sunday for the thrilling conclusion of The Witch of Vladimirovac. I'm Zevon Odelberg, and this has been Kinda Murdery.